I just turned 50. I'm just a couple of weeks short of my 52nd birthday now, and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, gosh, to be in this shape, it just doesn't seem as if it would have been possible at that point.
Because a lot of people, I mean, Louise and I took up running after our 40th birthdays, and a lot of people, get to later life and think, oh, well, this is it now. It's too late to change my ways and the rest of it. But, I mean, your diet was accompanied by the most incredible exercise regime as well. It wasn't just about the food, was it?
It was, and it was very serious, and I really take my hat off to anybody. There's the silent American film star. She was from the Silent Pictures, Mary Pickford. She said, you can have a fresh start any time you choose, for this thing we call failure is not the falling down, but the staying down. And to look at my life and the way I was leading it, I had all sorts of reasons to justify. And every time when I go into the Lantwood Major Leisure Centre now, I see on a fairly regular basis a chap who was at 100 and I think he was at 35 stone, and just a massive, massive man. And he's now since lost about 5 or 6 stone, and he's still working very, very hard at it. And my heart goes out to this guy. I don't even know him by name, but I walked over to him when I first saw him, because you could see everybody sort of looking away, averting their eyes when they saw him at first. And I walked up to him and I said, congratulations. I says, you've made it across the threshold. You've taken that first step, and that's so critically important. And I take my hat off to anybody that looks at themselves and says, I know I can do better and be better.
Because your body really told you, didn't it, that it was time for change, because you had a mini stroke, is that right?
I did, yes. And it was one of those situations where it was one of the most frightening moments of my life, because I was literally standing there talking to my son, and I could feel as if one of those, concrete pylons had been imploded, and my body was literally falling over towards our stove, and I stuck a stiff arm out up against the wall, and that's all that held me up. And my wife at the time was sitting there looking at me going, what's going on with you? You really need to take a look at this. And she was running back and forth and Googling up all of the symptoms and all of the issues. And I'm okay. But a TIA was in the midst of it at that point. And it was a fairly serious situation requiring immediate attention. So off we went to the good folks at Princess of Wales Hospital, where they took extraordinary care.
And turned you around. I mean, what were your biggest offences? Was it lack of exercise, eating the wrong things? What was worst?
All of the above, and mostly portion size. When you look at a portion that's placed in front of you that you would consider to be normal, it is so far outside of the boundaries of what is, and that's really what was the biggest offender for me.
So did they say you could carry on eating what you wanted to eat, but just less of it?
Not so much even what you wanted to eat. You just had to, in this program at the NHS, they were fabulous because they showed you what different types of foods were richer in salt and fat, and what things to avoid, and to get a proper balance of your diet. So I take my hat off to the dietary folks over there at Barry Hospital.
Now, Louise and Mal, running for Children in Need, which is what we're trying to raise money for, your cause is very close to your heart.
Indeed. I went to school with an amazing young woman by the name of Paula Persicchini Petiti, and she suffered on June 22nd a horrific automobile accident that indeed placed her in a coma. Now, this woman has brought medical care to the third world, around the world, in some places that you and I could not even imagine. And, I mean, she's a favorite of people like Kofi Annan and Ziggy Marley. She's been in Pol Pot's Cambodian jungles with the generals thinking, okay, this is it, I'm going to die, but also demanding that the generals provide malaria tents for the residents. This is a woman who has more energy than you or I or anybody else put together. She's now suffering from what we call a TBI, a traumatic brain injury, and laying in a hospital. And unfortunately, the U.S. healthcare system is so poor right now that she doesn't have the insurance coverage for her ongoing care. So I was running for Paula and trying to raise money to help raise the awareness of how many people are truly in need in the United States that cannot get health care. And, she and I went to high school together, and she's truly an amazing individual. She's what would happen if Mother Teresa and a sprinkling of Joan Jett and Janis Joplin melded together. She's just one hard-charging, energetic woman, and her presence is deeply missed in this world.
Well, it's a great cause, and Denis, we'll talk more in just a few moments, and we're going to talk about this investigation into British supermarkets. So stay with us. Jamie and Lisa with you on BBC Radio Wales, 19 minutes past 10. Now, if you're heading out shopping this week, you need to listen to Denis Campbell, who's been investigating supermarkets before you open your wallet or your purse. Denis, what have you been up to?
Well, this actually started as a consumer. back in August. I was wandering through my local market, and I looked up and I happened to notice a particularly priced product that I use for dishwashing tablets. And I thought, that seemed rather odd, and they were flogging these particular products at 2 for 1, buy one, get one free.
Flog off.
Yeah, big yellow stickers on top of everything, which, to us are like the matador's red cape to a bull. I mean, we walk through the door, we see the yellow stickers, we immediately go for the deal. And what I found was that very often, not only is that not the best deal, but it's not even the best deal inside that very store. And that was what really started to get me going. So armed with my little iPhone camera, which I would sort of plug in as if I was listening or talking to my wife, I would then take little photos of the shelves and start to compile a bit of a library. And tonight, when the segment airs, the actual article with the photos will go up so that people can see that this was done over a fairly extensive period of time, tracking a number of items in a number of different stores and the ways in which they perfectly legally try to get you to buy the items that they want to flog, as opposed to what is the best deal inside of the grocery store.
So basically, in basic terms, the supermarkets are ripping us off.
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far, but let's just say that in these recessionary times, as a beleaguered consumer trying to stretch every pound as far as you possibly can, at the very least, it's not cricket. If you look at the way in which people are trying very hard in this economy to stretch every single pound, you're going to wake up and you're going to say, wait a minute, this just doesn't feel right. When I hear phrases like every little helps, I begin to wonder, well, who is it helping?
Yes.
I mean, without wanting to probe into the details of the Denis Campbell household budget, I mean, how much money was this costing in your old way of shopping before you got your calculator out and started doing the maths?
Well, this was very interesting. I mean, on some of the items, it could be a huge amount. I mean, as much as £20 difference in terms of the price for the quantities that I was purchasing, because we have a family with 3 growing children that are eating more and more each day. Plus, we have an au pair inside the house as well, and my wife and myself. So that's 3 adults and 3 children. So the weekly food shop is a fairly significant amount. And I also learned lots of different techniques along the way, such as even the online savings were not perhaps as big as I thought, because I was doing much more impulse. Well, I might need that, I might need that. So it was the sort of thing. And this wasn't just another guy adventure in shopping, sort of a one-off. My wife is a consultant who travels quite a bit, so I do most of the shopping in the household. And I was just shocked to see some of the ways in which you could find 3 or 4 aisles later. There was one chain, for example, that would place the deal items 3 or 4 aisles away from where it was the actual item resided, and then the deal item that was on the aisle end cap was not on the aisle itself. Or there were instances where things were mispriced, where you thought you were getting a deal on the aisle, but there was an actual better deal on the end cap, and vice versa. I mean, it was really quite extraordinary and quite eye-opening.
So what should I do then next time I go to the supermarket? What's the answer to not, so that I don't leave feeling like I might have been ripped off?
Well, one of the issues is this whole issue of time. We're all pressed for time. Nobody has time. If you have a list, you want to get in, get your items, and get out. If you don't have a list, you want to fly through the aisles and just grab whatever's there and rush, because we're all in a hurry. And really, the best thing to do at this point is to sort of slow down, take a calculator with you, because the markets do nothing to make it easy for you to make a like-for-like, apples-to-apples comparison. So when you're trying to compare even things such as baby wipes, for example, you'll find they come in 63 count, 64 count, 72 count packages. And when you sit there and try to say, is this particular item a better deal than the other, it just goes on, and you find yourself absolutely pressed.
Yeah, and you actually find, sorry, Jamie, that they'll put the cost of each wipe, but in tiny, weeny, as you're sort of there with your magnifying glass trying to see how much each wipe costs. So I've done that myself for somebody who purchased baby wipes.
So, for a long time, we've known that buy one, get one free has contributed to a lot of our food waste, because we simply buy too much food. But the upshot of the investigation is that it's also costing us a packet financially as well.
Indeed. The buy one, get one free is a perfect example, because right next to it, for the same item, you see it for 3 for 2. And so I would often, when I was in the supermarket doing the story, I'd just stop a shopper and I'd point to it and I'd say, which is the better deal here? And you could literally see the facial change where they sort of went to that. What? I don't know. I honestly don't. Wait a minute. That's a better deal. Why am I buying? So on and on it went.
We shall watch with interest. You can see Denis Campbell's investigation in X-Ray at 7:30 tonight on BBC One Wales. Denis, congratulations on the half marathon. Nice to see you this morning.
Good to see you as well.
All the best.